I want to talk about war. Your father was killed in World War II. You wrote one of the greatest, I think, modern anti-war anthems ever written, Us and Them. And
With Rick Wright. It's Rick Wright's music.
Is it? Okay, but it's unbelievable song.
Yeah, yeah.
And but I want to talk about war because it had a personal effect on you, and I love your understanding and hatred of war and violence, which again I think came through in your concert.
Well, I spent this morning over this computer writing the second bit of a letter to Olena Zelenska.
I read your first one; it was great.
All right, so I wrote the first one. She replied with a very short Twitter, just telling me, "You're wrong. The Russians have to give up. The Russians have to give up, and then the war will be over." So I've written another one to her, which I wrote some of this morning, sort of trying to explain to her that they both have to give up. It clearly there's no end to there's no good end to this war. Yeah. There has to be a ceasefire, and then there have to be diplomatic negotiations. And in the letter, I've written all the stuff about how weird is it that all the propaganda is going on, the waving of the blue and yellow flags, and the pouring of arms and weapons into the Ukraine, at the cost, obviously, mainly of young Ukrainian men and women who are being slaughtered because they're cannon fodder. And certainly the United States government couldn't care less about them and is totally disinterested in the Ukraine. All it wants is to further its geopolitical ends. And we know this. But those of us who care about people think, oh my God, this is horrific. How can we stop this war? Well, obviously, you have to talk to Vladimir Putin, who is the new Hitler. You can't even talk to him. But what's different, and we're heading towards Ukraine being the new Cuba, we're having another Cuban Missile Crisis right now in Eastern Europe, like we had in 1962. But two things were different we don't know. One thing was certainly different. And what was that? John Fitzgerald Kennedy was speaking to Nikita Khrushchev on the telephone. We know this because William Polk was in the room, and so was Ray McGovern, and they've told us what was going on during those moments. When the Hawks were saying, press the button, let's kill them before they kill us. And to his eternal credit, JFK went, whoa, hold on. And he listened to wiser voices, and he spoke to Khrushchev, and they figured it out. And Khrushchev figured it out as well. And he went, all right, I understand. Is Biden talking to Putin? Of course he's not. Biden is sitting there saying, you are Hitler, and we're going to remove you from power. Hang on a minute. It's not your country, Joe, you doddering old fool. It's Russia. It's their country. It's nothing to do with you. What? This is insane. You can't try and manufacture regime change in one of the most powerful nuclear-armed countries in Russia. Did you not watch the Second World War, Joe, when you were a little kid? Did you not see 23 million of them died fighting the Nazis, saving you and me from the tyranny of the Third Reich? The Russians did that. You think they're going to take any notice of you telling them that they've got to get a new leader? You are uniting the Russian people behind Vladimir Putin. What you think of him is irrelevant. And it's crazy. You can't have the president of a great, great country like the United States poking another world leader in the eye with a bloody sharp stick. It's insane that they've allowed foreign policy. I read John Pilger's piece last week, where he talks about Harold Pinter talking about American foreign policy.
Yeah, this is in his Nobel Prize speech.
Exactly.
It's brilliant. Brilliant.
What does he say? Yeah, he says American foreign policy is like it's like a bully in the schoolyard. You say, you do as we say, or we're going to kick your teeth in. That's American foreign policy. What? how crude and debilitating and disgusting and old-fashioned. What are you living in the 9th century? What is wrong with you? What's wrong with them, of course, is that they picked up from Irving Kristol and, and those early neocons and something of the new American century, that they could be the unipolar power and that they can rule the world.
Well, we're all in trouble when Henry Kissinger is the voice of reason. Which he is. And you got in a lot of trouble on CNN. I don't know if I watched the whole thing. But you were not saying anything different than Kissinger had said, which is that they should give land for peace. The war has to end. And because whatever you think about Kissinger, and of course I think he's a war criminal, along with all those presidents you listed in your concert, he certainly understands geopolitics. And he understands the danger, and as I think you just laid out, of the Ukraine policy.
Yeah. So that's what we do all day. You do it as well. This is what we do. We the people who represent the we the people, who somewhere understand that we have to figure out a method of collaborating with one another that might, at the end of the day, save this beautiful planet that we all call home. Because they, the powers that be, the neocons, the profit mongers, the war machine, are working as hard as they can to destroy it as fast as they can, including possibly with nuclear war.